Frugal Sim videos are powered by Jetline Systems.
Hello YouTube, this is Frugal and welcome back to part 2 of our first impressions look at the PMDG DC-6 Cloudmaster in Microsoft Flight Sim. We are currently 21.2 miles outside Alder, so it is time to start thinking about that descent towards landing. Pretty simple to do because we're using the AFE, we're using a simplified mode of really flying this DC-6 right now. We're not managing every system ourselves. All we do, pop on down here and tell the guy we want to do descent checks.
26 inches, please.
And with that done, we'll pop on down to the autopilot and turn off altitude control. Watch what happens. So he's going to bring the engines back to 26 inches on the manifold pressure, all 4 engines.
26 inches set.
That will start us slowing down, and you can see we're starting to descend already. Now, radial engine aircraft like this do actually accelerate in the descent. They're not like modern jets, which can slow down in the descent. You need to be aware of that, and what we need to pay attention to now is focusing on descending at 500 feet per minute. So there's our rate of descent here. Here's 500 feet per minute. We're a little bit, it is coming down but not enough, so a couple of clicks forward on this. Let's take a look. A little bit too much, so we'll adjust that. And we're just going to use that pitch wheel to adjust the aircraft down to 500 feet per minute as a rate of descent, all the way down to 5,000 feet. Tricky, isn't it? As the aircraft picks up speed, that needle will change as well, so we need to really be paying attention to that and adjusting it a lot. And again, we're looking for 5,000 feet. So we're at 7,600 now. At 5,000 feet, we'll engage altitude, what do they call it? Altitude control. Again, to hold 5,000 feet. And then we can do the next part of the checks. Or next part of the approach. So just watching the speed here, we're at 210-ish. Well, I guess that's 201, right? This dial is quite odd, isn't it? Hard to see exactly where we're at. Looking good at the moment. Mount Rainier over here on the right hand side, looking amazing. And there's Washington State. Beautiful part of the country, by the way. If you ever get the chance to go out to Seattle and Washington State, highly recommend it. Actually got flown out here by Microsoft for the pre-launch of this sim. Had a whale of a time flying around here as well in real aircraft as well as in the sim. Beautiful place. Alright, watching this needle, it's bouncing a little bit, that's normal. 7,000 feet, quite a slow descent. This is why we need to descend so early, because the aircraft is going to be, we need to have quite a shallow descent because the aircraft will pick up speed in the descent. Which is why you need to plan that descent to land much, much earlier than you would in a modern jet. Now in terms of our course, after Alder, the next waypoint we're looking at is Cidug, or Cidug. CIDUG. We need to be leaving CIDUG on a heading of 020. We might turn the auto navigation mode of the autopilot off at that point and manually dial in the heading using the autopilot, that knob, the AP turn knob. Still looking good. 6,500 feet. Change the range on this so we can get a better view of what's going on. Oh, wrong way. There we go. So there's Alder, and you see Cidug up here. Still descending well, 500 feet. We have picked up a little bit of speed, but it hasn't really adjusted our rate of descent too much, which is great. And coming down now to 6,000 feet, we're going to level at 5,000. Obviously, we can't level too soon because Washington State is quite bumpy, and we don't want to collide with any of these bumps. Now, just as we did in the climb, you can ease up on the descent as you approach the altitude you want. So at about 5,500, we'll adjust that pitch wheel to slow down our rate of descent. And again, it's giving the people in the back a smoother ride. There's that 5,500. So a couple of clicks back, click, click. There's our rate of descent, easing up a little bit. as a result of that, you'll start to see the speed coming down very, very slowly. We're aiming to get at 5,000 feet, 175 knots and 20 flaps. There's that flap position indicated here, by the way. So this is quite a nice shallow descent at this point. We'll put one more click in here, back, click. You can see the speed's coming down ever so slowly. 5,002. Speed's coming down. Where are we at? Heading to Sidug now, 7.5 miles. Remember, we want to be heading at 020 after we leave that waypoint. Keydug, Sidug. I'm probably pronouncing that badly. Here we are, 5,000 feet now. Get ready, get ready. Alright, altitude control. Click. Now we're going over here and we'll tell him in-range checks.
Cooling turbine.
And we'll pop on up here and we'll turn on the VOR.
Fuel booster pumps.
Like so.
On low. Fuel tank selectors. Mains on, cross feed off. Hydraulic bypass valve. Down. No smoking signs. On. In-range checks complete.
Alright, there's a runway down here, but that's not Seattle. The course actually has us flying pretty nicely into Seattle. Don't need to do any weird pans or anything like that. Speed's coming down nicely as well. Let's start reducing the flaps now, or sorry, increasing the flaps now. So first stage of flaps. Watch the flap indicator. That's flaps 10. As you adjust the flaps, because we're in altitude hold, you need to wait and let the aircraft retrim itself. And now we can go to the next stage of flaps, which will be flaps 20. There he goes. Sorry, flaps 15. Let's try flaps 20. There we go, flaps 20. And again, see the nose is going to come up because the flaps are down, increase drag and increase lift. So now the autopilot system will adjust the trim of the aircraft. Let's see where we are. Coming up on Seadug, 1.1 miles. Now things are going to get a little bit busy. So here's our turn. We'll let the aircraft do its turn. Like so. Now pop on down to the autopilot, turn this into gyro pilot, not localizer. Back up here, turn this into V-lock. And if we look at our instruments now, everything has changed. So we're actually looking for the localizer now into Seattle. So at this point, we'll tell the AFE, approach. Oh no we won't, my bad. We'll tell the autopilot, approach. So click, click. And we're watching needles. There's Seattle there. And these are the needles we're watching. So look up here on our course. We do need to be turning now. So down here, we'll put our turn in. Oh, autopilot just disconnected, which is fine. So center this, and we'll start manually flying this then. So I have control of the aircraft now. We're going to do this the hard way. See, the needle is moving, so we're going to turn to track that needle. And we do want to adjust our rate of descent still. 500 feet now. Oh, actually, no, we don't. We want to hold level. So I'm just centering this vertical needle here, which is the localizer, onto the runway 34 left, and we'll start adjusting the aircraft appropriately. The glide slope is not active yet. Oh yes it is actually, so we do need to be descending. The glide slope is this horizontal needle here that is moving. So we will get our descent in and we'll start just turning the aircraft and try to hold both of these needles here. I'm having issues. Both of no, stop it. Both of these needles centered. So we're off course. So we'll turn, keep our descent going. Now at this point, there we go, there's the glide slope. So we're under the glide slope now, it's very much active. So we'll level off and wait till we catch that. Now at this point, you have control of the throttles. So the throttles are left in the last position the AFE left them in. But it's up to you now to adjust them as you see fit. But let's approach. So just adjusting trim now, so I don't have to keep applying so much back pressure on the yoke. And of course turning to intercept the localizer. I'm trying to hold us level. I should have stayed at 5,000. Noob. I dropped. I'm just adjusting the yoke now for my turn. And trying to keep us level. We're landing at 34 left in Seattle. You'll see 3 sets of approach lights. That will be right, center, and left. So obviously, right at 34 left is the left set of flashing lights up there. Pretty hard to keep this aircraft level while turning. We do still want to be level at 5,000 feet-ish. You can see the glide slope starting to move down now. We're looking to intercept that, and then we'll be descending at about 500 feet per minute again. It is such an elegant aircraft to actually manually fly like this. So smooth. Okay, runway's off to the right. Too busy looking out the window instead of looking at the instruments. Okay, so we're a little high now, so now we can carry on our descent 500 feet per minute. The glide slope is now underneath us. So adjusting the trim now to get that 500 feet per minute rate of descent. At this point, we'll tell the AFE what's going on, which is before landing.
Setting flaps 20.
Too high.
20 flaps set. Mixtures rich, wait. Auto rich.
And now he's setting the mixtures. At this point, I'm not going to mess with the engines until the mixtures are set, which is now.
Gear up and down, please. Gear up
Gears
and
coming down. That will slow us, which will improve our rate of descent and get us back on track with intercepting the glide slope.
Gear down and locked. 3 greens. Props.
Gears down.
2400 RPM.
Setting the props now. See our rate of descent has massively increased to 1,000 feet per minute, which is okay.
Cow flaps. Plus 3 degrees.
Setting the cow flaps now so the engines don't overheat.
ADI. ADI off. ADI is off. Landing lights. Speed good. Extending lights.
I'm going to take control of the engines now and bring the power back. And we'll bring the nose up so we're in a good profile for landing, but by reducing the power, we're improving our rate of descent so we can get back onto the glide slope here.
Lights extended and on.
You see we're slowing down quite a lot now.
Carbine cold. Set cold. Before landing checks complete.
All landing checks complete. So lots of trim, trying to bring the nose level. See the 3-1 ways very clearly now. We're taking 34 left. At this point, we will feed in the next stage of flaps. Bringing back the power now. As we start to intercept the glide slope. So really just playing with the power at this point to control the rate of descent and try to get back onto the glide slopes. We're off it a little bit. And we're focusing on keeping that vertical needle here centered. There we go, there's the glide slope, so back on the power. There is a delay between adjusting the power and actually reflecting and how the aircraft's performing, which is normal. So you'll hear the phrase of people saying about the aircraft getting ahead of them. This is what they're talking about. You need to be adjusting things so the aircraft doesn't get ahead of you and you're not playing catch up with the engines and everything else. It's moving around quite a lot in the air here. Speed is great. Clearly see the runway now and the light beside the runway. Looks like one white, couple of reds, which means we're a little bit low. Not going to worry about that too much. I'm more focused on the needles down here. A little bit too low, so increasing the power just a fraction to slow our rate of descent, get us back onto the glide slope. We're a little bit underneath it currently. There we go. Now easing up on the engines just a fraction to follow the glide slope all the way down. See the aircraft is bouncing around quite a lot. Get closer to the ground. Alright, now really confirming the picture out of the window with these needles. So we are too high, just a touch, or a little bit to the right. It's a nice long runway, so when we touch down we won't need to slam on the brakes. We'll just let the aircraft coast a little bit until we get to our turn off. Right, potentially too low now, so bring it back in the power. Again, not pushing and pulling the yoke to adjust that rate of descent, adjusting the power to control the rate of descent, trying to keep the aircraft level so that when we touch down, the appropriate wheels hit the ground first. Just pulling back on the power a touch there, because we're a little bit high now. And we're off to the left, so we're going to the right now. And roll level. A little bit high. Still a little bit high, so reducing power again. Nowhere near idle power at this point, as you can see from the manifold pressures on the right. Can't point at them now, a little bit busy. Alright, let's follow the picture and land. So, full flaps. Lights are telling me I'm low. Easing up on the power now as we approach the threshold of the runway. And flare. And gentle touchdown. Alright, idle power. Welcome to Seattle! And again, we're not going to hit the brakes, we'll just let the aircraft slow down on its own. What a fun flight. Even though we didn't do too much, and it was automated a lot because of the flight engineer and the autopilot with the GPS, still a lot of fun, especially that last manual approach and landing. Alright, touching the brakes now, you can hear the squeaking. And we'll start to turn off here. Taxiing this is a bit of a pain actually, because of that delay between putting power up and the engines responding. There is a risk that you actually grind to a halt, as I'm about to do, which is not ideal. Alright, back down to the AFE now, after landing. See the flaps are coming up. That's the AFE taking care of that.
Checks complete.
After landing checks are complete, let's head somewhere to park. Shut it down so that the Msfs flight log records this as a complete flight. And of course, time towards my 10 hours for the full review. We'll just check before we cross this runway here. Nothing coming. There shouldn't be anything coming. I have all the AI traffic turned off right now. Just adjusting the throttles a little bit so we don't grind to a halt. And here's 34 right. Gonna cross that. Following the green taxi lights. It is early evening, which is why the lights are showing up so brightly. So if you're not aware, Msfs will actually record a proper full flight only when the aircraft is fully shut down. So we will need to go through the shutdown, but again, because we're using this in a somewhat simplified mode with the AFE will actually take care of most of that for us, which is great. Don't worry, in the full review we'll be doing everything by hand. I'm not too bothered about where I park this. We'll put it at a gate, I guess. And brakes back on. So at this point, look on down, parking brake set. Go back over to the AFE and tell him parking.
Parking brake is set. Cut entrance.
Gotta get a good view so you can see this. See the engine start to slowly spin down. At the end of the first impressions flight from Portland to Seattle, following PMDG's tutorial flight 1 in the DC6 Cloudmaster for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Once the AFE has finished setting all the switches and doing what it needs to do, the sim will pop up and tell us, good job. As always, my name is Frugal. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you all very soon.